Alright, so if you've been watching my videos here on YouTube, you know I'm always promoting the passion of reptiles, and especially snakes. I'm a big snake guy. I keep and breed ball pythons, as well as a few big reticulated pythons on the side. And to me, I think snakes are pretty much the ultimate pet. You can't get any better than a snake. You don't really have to pay much attention to them. They eat pretty much once a week. Some of them only eat once a month. It's pretty amazing. And they can be extremely friendly, like Bobby here. Take a look at Bobby. Bobby is such a cutie. How can you refuse that face? He is such a beautiful snake. And today I kind of want to switch gears and I want to get on my soapbox and I want to talk about the dark side of the reptile industry. And believe it or not, there are people, there are groups and organizations that want to take away your reptiles. And essentially the way they do it is they don't really break down the door and take them by force. What they'll try to do is they'll try to sneak around the back and put into law these bans or restrictions. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll require fees and permits for every single individual snake. And all these have been proposed as, you know, pretty much laws and regulations, city ordinances. And there's a lot of people actually fighting to actually keep and breed and display and transport these animals. And I'm always kind of looking around, all right, what is going on behind the scenes? What are the new proposed city ordinances and laws and regulations? And take a look at this. So I actually found one today where this is actually part of the equation. So if you take your camera and you film a snake, you're actually going to need a permit. That's one of the proposed city ordinances. It's going to cost you $680 a year just to film your snake. And I started thinking, all right, who's really going to be affected by this? I was like, wait a minute, I'm kind of feeling targeted as a reptile vlogger here, that, you know, I'm pretty much the only one who's going to actually film my snake and upload it to YouTube for the whole world to see. It's not like they're going to go after National Geographic and try to get them to pay the $680 a year. So I mean, stuff like this is real, and there's a lot of people really fighting it. And I want to show you today essentially where you can go to find out all these new proposed laws and what you can do to actually fight them. Some of it's pretty frightening. With the stroke of a pen, they can outlaw these snakes in your area, which is pretty scary. As a matter of fact, I saw one area where they were proposing an entire constrictor ban, and ball pythons are constrictors. So if they put that into law in my area here in Colorado in the United States of America, essentially all these would be banned here, which would be frightening. So pretty much a plan B for me would be I would actually probably move out of the country if they put something like that in place. It's that dramatic, where actually, I mean, there's a lot of people investing a lot of money to try to fight and protect our rights to keep and breed and display and film these animals. This is the first one I've actually seen where you actually need a permit to actually just take out a camera and film your snake. It's pretty amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to USARC, and USARC is essentially the big organization that is fighting for our rights. And you can actually get involved over on USARC. You can donate money, or you can actually get involved and write some letters. They actually, a lot of times they'll give you templates to where you can actually write the letters, and they'll give you addresses, tell you exactly what to say and what to do. It's pretty awesome. Let's jump over and check out USARC. All right, I'm over here at usarc.org, and this is the place you want to be if you want to help defend our rights to keep reptiles. And they pretty much have been doing this for a long time, and they are pretty much the biggest organization that really helps us as reptile keepers. This is the United States Association of Reptile Keepers, and this is pretty much geared towards the United States. And if you're actually not from the United States, you can still donate to the USARC to help us guys over here in the United States. We're always helping, you know, our neighbors and everything else. As a matter of fact, it's kind of, you know, these rules and regulations, they come up and they're all over the board. Usually they're not on a federal level, although I saw one down here that was a federal proposed legislation. That's pretty scary that actually on a federal level something is actually proposed. But normally they're within states or cities. So what I want to do is I want to just quickly go down and just kind of show you some of the highlights. Usually the newest stuff is at the top right here on the home page. And the first one is the Los Angeles Exotic Animal Program Permit Proposal. And that's the one that just kind of caught my attention today. I went over there, and that's the one that's actually proposing a $680 annual fee to film your animals. That's kind of crazy. You know, as a YouTuber, that would pretty much devastate me. That would shut me down. And I'm not exactly sure if that's actually, you know, geared towards YouTubers, or if it's more like a documentary television kind of style, or exactly what that is geared for. But I'll get into that a little bit later, and we'll kind of go into that in a little more detail. So if you kind of scroll down here, you'll actually see these are just hitting all the different states. Here's the West Virginia reptile ban. Here's the North Carolina blanket exotic animal ban. And usually these exotic animal bans cover the reticulated pythons. Any snake greater than 6 feet is usually what they're shooting for, is, you know, the boas and the retics and the anacondas, stuff like that. Here is a North Carolina ban alert. This is the federal bill. I actually haven't really looked into this. This is the first federal one I saw. Here's the Pennsylvania Traveling Animal Act ban. And a lot of the Traveling Animal Act bans actually target, for example, if you took some snakes and brought it into a school for like a reptile educational program, this ban would prevent you from doing any kind of like the school shows or anything like that, and it kind of shuts down a lot of the circuses and stuff like that. And if you kind of look down here, there's one down here, let me show you. This one kind of floored me here. This one in Wisconsin, Wausau, Wisconsin, the Wisconsin ban on all constrictor snakes. Let me tell you, if they actually came to Colorado and banned constrictor snakes, ball pythons and reticulated pythons are actually constrictors. And let me tell you, if they came in and banned all my snakes, I don't even know what I would do, because it's one thing to actually charge a fee, but it's another thing to actually put a ban in place and just ban them. Because essentially, for someone like me that actually makes a living on breeding reptiles and actually making YouTube videos, I would actually basically just have to pack up and move to another state, or essentially if it was a federal ban, I'd have to move out of the country, which would be kind of crazy just because of the regulations that are in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over here to the very first one. This one that caught my attention today, and that's kind of what I was focused on when I started making this video. It's pretty crazy. So this is the LA Exotic Animal Act ordinance, which is pretty amazing. So if you kind of look down in some of the details, you go down to number 3, you must pay $425 for each program. So I don't really know how this money stacks up on top of each other, but I was looking, all right, I have to pay $425 here, and then you come over here and you actually look that this is actually only for the city of Los Angeles. So it doesn't affect me here in Colorado, but let me tell you, LA is pretty big, and this is a draft ordinance adding to the Los Angeles Municipal Code. So this actually could affect a lot of people. And it has another document over here with all the fees associated with it. So take a look at this. If you actually take a look at number 7 here, this is miscellaneous animal or reptile establishment, $205. So I was wondering, does that $205 stack on top of the $425? So now you're looking at $600. And then down here, number 12, filming with animals, $680. Now you're up to almost $1,300 a year. So essentially what these do is it doesn't actually knock down your door and forcibly take your animals. What it does is it makes it so you really can't justify keeping a few snakes for $1,300 a year, essentially is what it's doing. So really what it does is it basically legislates you out of your ownership and just takes away your ownership that way, which is pretty unfortunate. They kind of have the back way around it, and these actually haven't gone into place. There's actually places where you can go to fight for your rights. You can actually try to shut these down. So that's kind of what I want to show you, is how we can actually fight these. Here's another one, the West Virginia reptile ban. This is kind of crazy. This is only in West Virginia, proposing a ban on constrictor snakes greater than 6 feet. So all your boas, your anacondas, your reticulated pythons. And the thing I was thinking, well, what if you had a ball python that was greater than 6 feet? I've actually seen some grow that big. And if I had one in my room here that was, say, 6.5 feet, and another 150 that were smaller than that. Could someone come in and say, all right, you have one that's greater than 6 feet, all these others have the potential to grow greater than 6 feet, so they are all banned or under these rules now, which is kind of crazy to think about. So this is, here's another one that it's essentially not a total ban, but what it is, it's actually regulating you out of ownership. So if you read the fine print on some of these, take a look at this. It's essentially, it's not a total ban. Here, you can keep your snake, sure, but you have to register your current animals. You have to pay $150 annual permit fee per animal. $150. Can you imagine if I had 100 snakes here? And then you have to have a $300,000 liability insurance policy, ban on future ownership, so you can't buy any new snakes, and then only animals owned before the date can be kept, so you can't buy any new ones. No breeding of the listed species. This puts breeders out of commission. You have to microchip or tattoo all your snakes. No public contact, no educational outreach. So essentially it's a ban. You can keep your snake, you have to jump through all those hoops, and let me tell you, they make so many hoops on these that you essentially, it's not even worth keeping your snakes, unfortunately. So that's kind of what we're fighting for. So if you're wondering how you can actually fight to protect our rights to keep these animals, you can actually come over here to USARC and you can join. They have different levels of annual memberships. You can actually receive the newsletters, you can receive a t-shirt, you can actually go all the way up to the gold member business leader for $1,000 a year. I've actually seen some actually really big companies do this. You get 5 USARC t-shirts and a gold member badge for advertising. Or if you want to invest just a little bit to defend our rights, you can actually come over here and they have an amount you can actually put in as little as $1 and donate to USARC. You can put as little or as much as you want here, just a one-time donation. So I would highly recommend going over to USARC, and if you don't donate, at least keep an eye on what's going on in your local area. And let me tell you, if they have a proposed ban in your area and you have a bunch of snakes, you will probably consider, following or donating or, working with USARC. As a matter of fact, they have a lot of templates where they actually give you the people to write, the legislatures and all the I'm not really into the politics as much as I could be, but I know USARC will give you all the emails and the addresses. As a matter of fact, they'll give you the forms to write, and all you have to do is just plug in your name and kind of reword them a little bit and just put them in an envelope and mail them or just email them. It's really simple. USARC really is here to help you. All right, so there you have it. That is the dark side of the ball python industry. And let me tell you, here in Colorado right now, I feel pretty privileged that I can actually keep and breed and display and film these snakes. It's really neat that I can share Bobby with you. He's a really cool snake. And all the videos that I share with you, I hope they don't take my rights away to actually share my passion for these amazing animals. So it is time for the question of the day. And Ryan M. asks, have you ever tried feeding rat fuzzies instead of live mice to your ball python hatchlings? And I would say, actually, my very first year, I started out, I really didn't know what I was doing. I had 40 ball python hatchlings in my very first rack, and I tried to feed them rat fuzzies live, tiny little rat, pretty much like a rat crawler, pretty much the same size as a mouse hopper. And out of those first 40 snakes, I think only maybe 2 or 3 actually ate. And I tried week after week after week, and I got so frustrated. It was extremely frustrating. And I think it was actually another breeder that gave me the idea and actually told me that the only thing a ball python hatchling will eat is a live mouse hopper. So I went to the pet store and I was shopping around for live mouse hoppers, and sure enough, I found a pet store that had them. They were really expensive, cost me a lot of money, and I actually fed 40 mouse hoppers to all my snakes, and every single hatchling ate it the first time. And from that point on, I knew that mouse hoppers were pretty much the only thing that a ball python would eat. You can actually try to feed them a frozen thawed mouse hopper, and usually they're a little bit too scared of people. They're still little kind of skittish when they're hatchlings, and they usually won't take a frozen thawed. But you pop a live one in there, and almost every single time they'll take it. And that's pretty much when I got my little 2 racks of I got 10 tubs of live mice that I feed my hatchlings with, and I kind of beef it up during the breeding season, so I have a lot of live mice. And then usually once you feed them 6 live mouse hoppers, you can transition over to the live rats. And let me tell you, even if you switch over from live mice to live rats, when they get a little weight on them, I'd say maybe about 50% only eat the live rats. It's kind of weird that they kind of turn their nose up to rats compared to mice. But you really want to get them to over to rats as soon as possible, because you definitely don't want to get them stuck on mice. Let me tell you, if I had a snake like Bobby here stuck on mice, it would take too many mice to actually feed him. I just feed him 1 big rat and I'm done for the week. Otherwise, you'd be feeding like mice every single day trying to get them up to size. And usually a ball python doesn't have the appetite where it'll keep eating day after day after day a small meal to actually keep the weight on them. So I'd say you want to get them over to rats, but you always have to start with live mice as far as my experience. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.